Okay, so let's get into making these low-carb chicken parmigianas. Now for this recipe, I do use chicken thigh fillet. It is a higher percentage of fat. The meat is also a lot more juicier and tender as well. I am using this Leggo's fresh sauce, however it is better if you make your own sauce. For the crumbs, I'm using almond meal instead of breadcrumbs. I use some Vegeta, some thyme and mixed herbs, salt, pepper, garlic powder, and I do use some eggs as well, and then some perfect pizza cheese. I find that that's the best cheese, and you want some olive oil or whatever oil you're using. Now you want to preheat your oven to about 170, and then in a bowl you want to pour in around a cup of almond meal. It depends how many thigh fillets you have and how many parmigianas you're making. And then I add in 3 teaspoons of Vegeta. I take some salt and pepper. I don't usually measure them. I usually do about 10 turns of the shaker thing. And then some thyme and also mixed herbs. Those ones I don't measure either. They're probably like half a teaspoon, I'm thinking. And then a teaspoon of garlic powder. And then you want to mix all of that in together. Make sure it's all combined. And then in another bowl, you want to take an egg, or sometimes 2 eggs depending on how big they are. Again, how many thigh fillets you have to make into schnitzels. So then you want to whisk that one up, and then we are going to open up the chicken, and I do like to trim off all of like the extra fatty bits, but this is a personal preference. Of course, you don't need to do this. I just like doing it. And then what I'm doing is taking 2 pieces of baking paper, and I'm going to sandwich the chicken in between them. So lay them out on the chopping board. Make sure that they're pretty far enough apart so that when they spread out that there's enough room and they're not going to, mush into each other kind of thing. Then you want to pound them with a mallet, make them nice and flat. You want to get your pan ready, so get your big pan, put it on the stove top, and then pop some olive oil in. Then we are going to take the chicken and dip it in the egg, and then dip it in the mix of the crumbs, and just make sure that every bit is covered with some crumbs, and then you want to put it in the pan. Some people like to double dip. I don't find that that's necessary. And yeah, you just keep doing that until they're all done. Your fingers do get a bit grotty. Then when you have them all cooking in the pan, they should look something like this. I would say cook them on a medium level for about maybe 10 minutes on one side, and then you want to just flip them over when they're starting to brown. Try not to let them burn. And then cook them again, put in some more olive oil if you need, and then let them cook another 10 minutes or so, depending on how hot the pan is getting. So then we want to move them to a tray. Now, if you're just making the schnitzels, you can leave them like this. They are delicious as schnitzels just the way they are, but I'm making parmigianas tonight. So then I'm going to pop on the sauce on top, and then I spread it out with the spoon. Now, keep in mind this sauce does have a bit of sugar in it. I find that it doesn't really affect me. However, as I said at the start, it is better to make your own sauce. But please let me know if you can find a Napoli sauce without any sugar, because I'd love to know. Once the sauce is all spread out, I pop on the grated cheese on top. Now, I use the Pizza Perfection, as I mentioned earlier. I find that this just browns the best in the oven. It's so delicious. Then I'm going to pop them in the oven. Now, I do let them cook for maybe like 10 to 15 minutes. Of course, keep checking back on them to make sure that they're not burnt, or just to see if they need a little bit longer. And then we want to take them out of the oven, and they are just good and ready to go. My mouth is watering. But yeah, I chose to serve mine up with some vegetables, some low-carb vegetables. This is just generally how I serve them. They are so delicious. They are definitely ones that people wouldn't even know that they're low carb because they are so tasty. Ugh.